How do you dominate a match and still feel like you didn't win the moment? That's exactly what Karolína Muchová admitted after crushing Alex Eala 6-0, 6-2 in Miami. A 61-minute beatdown. But here's the twist. The scoreboard told one story. The crowd told a completely different one. Because what echoed through that stadium after the final point wasn't silence. It was a roar. Thousands of Filipino fans rising together, loud, emotional, unstoppable, refusing to let Eala walk off that court as just another defeated player. Muchová won the match. But the moment? That belonged to Eala. And what happened next turned a routine loss into something unforgettable. 6 days earlier, Eala walked into Miami carrying more than just a racket. She carried belief. Not just her own, but the kind that spreads through a crowd when they start seeing a player as one of their own. Across the net stood a completely different force. Muchová, top 15, fresh off a WTA 1000 title, in peak form, a player built to shut down emotion with precision. On paper, this was supposed to be simple, and for 61 minutes it was. Muchová was sharp, calm, ruthless. Eala's run was torn apart before it could even begin. 0.6-2. A brutal scoreline. The kind that usually empties a stadium and sends a young player off with polite applause. But not this time. Because the match ended, and that's when everything changed. Handshake at the net, a brief embrace. And then, the noise exploded. The grandstand transformed. This wasn't a tennis crowd anymore. This felt like a national celebration. Fans chanting, cheering, pouring everything they had into Eala after she had already lost. This wasn't polite applause. This was a statement. Because players don't get tributes like that for losing. Prospects don't get that kind of love. Icons do. Now, imagine standing in Muchová's position. You've just dominated a match. Total control. Start to finish. And yet, the emotion in the stadium isn't about your victory. The chairs were still warm. Section after section at Hard Rock Stadium, the same seats that just days earlier were covered in Philippine flags, filled with fans who had traveled thousands of miles and made their voices heard, now sat empty in the Florida afternoon. March 24, 2026. Alex Eala had exited the Miami Open and the entire atmosphere left with her. Within 48 hours of that 6-0, 6-2 defeat, she posted something that turned a tough loss into the strongest proof yet of the Eala effect. Just 3 days earlier, this tournament felt completely different. The energy was electric. The crowds were louder. The courts felt alive like nowhere else. So let me ask you this. Is Alex Eala already the biggest crowd draw in women's tennis right now? Or will that special effect change once she steps into the role of favorite instead of underdog? Drop your prediction down in the comments. Alex Eala arrived in Miami as the defending semi-finalist, a seeded player with real expectations and a history at this tournament that the draw respected. She powered through her first 2 rounds with authority. She took care of Laura Siegemund, then delivered a strong 6-3, 7-6 victory over Magda Linette. Both matches had an atmosphere that was visually and audibly different from anything happening on the surrounding courts. The stands didn't feel neutral. They felt like they belonged to one passionate community. Then came the round of 16 against Karolína Muchová. 6-0, 6-2. Muchová was clinical and dominant. Eala couldn't find her footing, and her promising run ended on a Tuesday afternoon. The tournament continued, but something had clearly shifted. Fans who had been there from the start started documenting what they saw after her exit: more empty seats, quieter grounds, and a noticeable drop in the energy that had defined the opening week. Cebu Daily News and Filipino fan accounts across X and Facebook put it plainly: when Alex Eala left, something special departed with her. No official comment came from the Miami Open or the WTA about attendance. None was needed. The before and after footage and fan commentary across platforms said it all. And this wasn't the first time. Just 3 weeks earlier at Indian Wells, the exact same pattern played out. Eala in the draw. Crowds building with distinct energy. Eala eliminated. Grounds thinning, with reports of nearly 58,000 fewer fans in later sessions, backed by fan videos and headlines. Miami didn't create the Eala effect. Miami confirmed it's real, and it's here to stay. Her win over Lynette was impressive, composed tennis against a Grand Slam veteran. But the result almost felt secondary to the scene around it. The stands were packed with a volume and density that had no business being there at that stage of a hardcourt event. Flags visible on the broadcast. Noise carrying to neighboring courts. Social media clips exploded within hours. Tuesday's match ended. By Saturday, the grounds told a different story, one carefully documented by the fans who stayed. The pattern from Indian Wells to Miami is now impossible to ignore. Two premier American hardcourt tournaments, 45 days apart. Same departure. Same visible aftermath. The Eala effect isn't built on a single event. It's a repeating sequence proven across two major tournaments. Think about it from the tournament's perspective. You watch the session energy shift the moment one player exits the draw. You review the footage. You walk the grounds. You read comments flooding in from multiple languages. You reach the same conclusion the fans reached within hours. One player was generating a disproportionate share of the atmosphere, and her absence was immediate, visible, and undeniable. The fans who figured this out first deserve the credit. The ones who booked flights before the draw was even released. Who turned South Florida courts into something that felt personal and impossible to ignore. They didn't just make noise. They created proof. The Eala effect belongs to them. They built it match by match, section by section. And every empty chair after March 24th confirmed what they had known all along. Then, just 48 hours after that heavy 6-0, 6-2 loss, the kind that usually brings guarded answers, Alex Eala went straight to social media. Not about the loss. Not about Muchova. She wrote directly to Miami. I can confirm Miami is still the best. I'll always have a special place in my heart for this tournament. That wasn't polite gratitude. That was real. She felt the love from those stands and sent it right back. The effect clearly works both ways, and that post is its clearest evidence yet. Paul Annacone, who coached Pete Sampras through his final Grand Slam years and worked with Roger Federer's team, knows what it takes to move a stadium. Earlier in 2026, he said about Eala, "She's got a smile that lights up a room, and she does it with a lot of grace and humility." That quality, the one that changes the temperature of a space when she enters, is exactly what makes a tournament feel different when she steps on court. Fans don't fly across the world and fill sections because of breakpoint stats. They come because they feel something when she's there.